Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Tuesday, the 27th of May. US market was closed yesterday, so it was a fairly quiet evening, and also this morning has been fairly quiet in Asia. So let's just recap from what we saw yesterday. In this occasion of the video, there's no recommendation or advice whatsoever. It is only to demonstrate how I try to read the market using technical analysis and to demonstrate how you can use it. So, but let's just take the alphabet C share or Google that was rejected here on the 22nd of May at 178 resistance, closed below the 100 moving average, 200 moving average, and is still in the cloud, so basically below the cloud or in a neutral position. But what was interesting though was that the RSI actually closed above 60 threshold on that day, but it's still set back anyway. You can see I've drawn some trend lines here on the RSI. So it's actually forming a channel-like pattern, and you can draw trend lines on the RSI. Sometimes it's clear then on the actual price graph. We can also draw a trend line here on the actual price graph if we want to. As you can see, I can do this and oops, there it is. Hang on. It's a little bit bumpy now. I don't know why. So you can actually do that, and and you can see that's the same as the lower part of the channel like, and we have the other one up here. So just to recap and say, well, if it stays above 164.25, then we could see it bouncing further, and we are likely to see it bouncing for a little bit because pre-market US Nasdaq 100 is up 1.4%. So let's see about that. It needs to get above 178 really to establish a bullish trend. On the S&P 500, well, it closed Friday at 5,783 support, but let's look at what's going on in the pre-market. It actually has bounced. It bounced yesterday 1.2%. and could resume uptrend. There's still positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence indicating likely higher levels. We have the pre-market here, or the aftermarket pre-market yesterday. We have the US Nasdaq 100 here pre-market today 1.4%, so 1.5% higher, so bouncing, and could also make a new all-time high. Not necessarily all-time, but taking out this 21,483, and there's still positive sentiment. You see RSI bounced off the 60 threshold, and there's no divergence indicating likely higher levels. Here also a pre-market on US 30, that's the Dow Jones, also bounced, and we can see on the actual cash index, it actually bounced from the 41,382, this gap area here. So it hasn't really closed it in an orderly manner. So I think we will trade above back above 42,000 here later today. Let's see where we end. So, but if more in that on the on these indices, check out yesterday's update. Asian session, a little bit bounce, so a little bit positive, but it is in a sideways range here around 23,500. Not much to say. We're still in bullish trades, a little bit stretched, but maybe it can be lifted here in the coming days and weeks. If it takes out the peak there, 23,917, well, then expect to push up to around 25,000. The Nikkei has bounced, continuous bounce that it started yesterday. And I think here in the coming days, it could get back up to the previous peak here, just below 39,000, maybe above. Also here, positive RSI and no divergence indicating likely higher levels. Where US was closed, the Europe market was indeed in session yesterday. A strong bounce from EuroStoxx50 to the middle of this sell-off here we saw Friday. And if we're checking pre-market, it's basically unchanged. But what is key, it stayed above the support here at 5,285 and closed above. It dipped down to the 100 moving average that's coming up here, and the 55 moving slightly declining. So there's some support there, and I think we could see a push higher here in the coming days. Also, when we're talking about yields later, interest rates has been dropping in Europe. And moving on to DAX, very strong bounce indeed. Totally almost taking out this sell-off here on Friday, and here pre-market it is actually trading just a tad higher. Also positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels. Quiet day also on the FX market. The euro dollar bouncing around the 61.8 retracement and resistance at 113.85 here. If it takes out the little peak up from yesterday at 114.20, then I think we will see a push higher, and I do think we will see that in the coming weeks. However, RSI got rejected here 60 threshold yesterday, so it is struggling a little bit for momentum, but still in a positive sentiment and should push higher. But I want confirmation, and I usually do that. So sterling dollar or cable, well. Bullish trend with potential up to 137 and a half resistance. You can see that one up there. We talked about that yesterday too. And the euro sterling, well, it's still sliding a little bit lower. It's fairly weak, but it's still above the 200 moving average, which is actually declining, by the way. So we are in a downtrend. You see lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and then lower low. Let's see if it can slide even lower. I think it will. If it should change this scenario, it needs to get back above 84.65. On the yen pairs, we have dollar yen that is bouncing off the 142, just a few pips above it. And I think we could see a bounce up to at least 144.60, the 38.2 retracement, possibly up to the 61.8 retracement, 146.15, where we have the 55 moving average coming down. Still, the RSI bounced off the 40 threshold, indicating that we will likely see a bounce up to either of those levels there. If it takes out the lows here from this early morning, expect a sell-off down to 140 and a quarter. Euro yen, well, keeps bouncing a little bit after dipping to the 100 and the 200 moving averages and down to 161 support level. I think we could see it bouncing a little bit further. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, indicating we are likely to have a retest of 165 resistance. Aussie yen, and let's zoom in so we can see all these lines I have added here. Well, first of all, it declined 38.2 retracement of this uptrend here, just below 92, and then it's bouncing back. Hit yesterday the 38.2 retracement 93.18. I think we could see a bounce up to the 61 retracement 94.12, possibly higher, because positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence. You see this peak here, and there's no divergence. It could actually challenge this or test this peak here just below 96, 95, 75, possibly higher. But let's see about that. If it takes out the lows here at 91.65, expect a test of 90.60 support. Sterling yen, also a nice bounce from the 100 moving average and the 55 coming up there, giving some support. Very close to the 61.8 retracement. I think we could see it bouncing further towards 195.45, but the RSI with no divergence, you see there's the only peak here, there's no divergence, and if RSI gets back above 60 threshold, which I believe it will, well, there is potential higher than this peak here at 196.40, but let's see about that here in the next couple of days. We have Aussie dollar that got a little bit tired after a strong breakout and bounce of a breakout of this triangle-like pattern here. Didn't get all the way up to 65.50 resistance, and now back in below the lower or the upper falling trend line. So it's struggling a little bit. I think we could be caught range bound here just below 65.50. It's really hard to read at the moment, but there's positive sentiment on the RSI indicating it should crawl higher, but it's like the 200 moving average is really trying to drag it lower, so to speak. However, if it takes out the peak today, we could see a push up to 65.50. and possibly higher, especially if it takes out the peak from yesterday. Dollar Canada, oops, let's resize it. There we are. Didn't get all the way down to the support here at 136.50 and 138.2 projection of this move here. Can still do it. Negative sentiment on the other side. We are in a bearish trend, but it's trying to rebound a little bit. Could maybe rebound up to 138, but we are in a bearish trend, so it is likely to drop lower. Sterling Canada, well, it is not very convincing taking out this 186, dipped lower to almost the lower rising trend line. I still believe we will see a push higher, but it is debatable. It really needs to take out these peaks there, and at 186.95, that's the key level to take out. Then I think we'll see a push above 188. Euro Swiss, well, bouncing sideways between 93 and 94 and a quarter, and that's the range. And if it takes out the lows there at 92.90, then sell off down to 90.20. Expect that, but let's see if that will play out. Also, dollar Swiss at the support levels here, just below 82. Bouncing a little bit here at the 786 retracement here, just below 82. If it closes below, well, then we could see a push towards the previous lows here around 80s, but 40 or 39, it's very close to. I think we'll see a little bit of a bounce maybe, but resistance here at 83.35, and we are in a bearish trend. You can see all moving averages declining, a negative sentiment on the RSI, so it is indicating like the lower levels. The dollar index, more or less the same picture, bouncing from the 786 retracement and support here at the 98.68 level. Could bounce a little bit, but we are in a bearish trend. There was just this little correction here, but all moving averages declining, negative sentiment on the RSI. Gold sliding back after being rejected at 786 retracement at 3,368. Could see a little bit of a setback, possibly down to around 32.40 maybe. RSI got rejected at the 60 threshold. Still positive sentiment, but there has been a bit of divergence, but still positive sentiment. And it will likely to test its falling trend line here. See, you can draw trend lines on the RSI. Sometimes it gives a more clear picture because you cut away all the noise from the actual price graph. If it bounces from this trend line and then back above 60 threshold, uptrend could resume. But I want confirmation. 3,368 it needs to take out. We have silver still in this range between 33.70. That is the upper range, that is a key towards platinum. I expect a correction that could take it down to support here just around 1,055, but we are in a bullish trend and likely to push higher. Copper getting back below this, now the support here at 480.70. RSI rejected at 60 threshold, so it didn't really get the momentum it should have had after breaking above this resistance here. So let's see here what will happen the next couple of days, but it's key that RSI will close above 60 threshold to really establish a bullish trend. On crude oil, well, still holding on above the minor support at 60.47. It has dipped below a couple of times, but hasn't closed below. I think if it takes out the lows from yesterday at just a few cents above the $60 level per barrel, then I think we could see that sell-off. But if it bounces back, and again, it needs to take out and close above 64.87 to really confirm this double bottom pattern there. More or less same picture on Brent Crude, of course. The 63.40 support there, but it needs to take out 68.68 to confirm this double bottom like pattern. But for now, it seems like it doesn't care about it, just trading sideways in this range there. European gas also a little bit range bound. RSI still negative, has been rejected at the 60 threshold a couple of times. If it does close above, and we see a push and close above this spike up there at 37.82, well, then I think we'll see a push up to the 40 euros area. US nat gas, well, moving averages 55 and 100 declining. The 55 broken below the 100. So I think we'll see it being boxed in here between $3.31 and up to 380 level. So possibly even boxed in between $3 and $3.50 here for some time. Moving on to yields, US Treasury yields, the 10-year sliding lower, and what I think I will do, I will add Fibonacci. You can do the same. You can see how I do this, and then add it to this one. Just drag it a little bit there. The 32 retracement at 443. I think it will be. We will get down there, possibly a little bit lower. We could get all the way down to the 61.8 at 431, where we have the 55 moving average coming up, but the 100. That is slightly declining, but almost flat, will add some support. So it is starting for upside momentum. We should be happy about that. We don't like interest rates too high at the moment. But if it takes out the peak there at 462, I also think it would take out 465, and then we are looking at 480. The 2-year, really not much to talk about. Still here between 390 and 403. Let's move on to European yields. There's been a little bit more movement, dipping lower, again lower yesterday and also this morning here, and I think we'll see it sliding back to 250. But 243 is a key support. If it takes out that wall, then we are looking at 232, 230 area. But for now, it seems just a correction. But let's see. The UK minor support there at 460. If it takes out that, then we're looking at 456. But the strong support area down here around 440 could come in play. But I don't think that will happen anytime soon. What we can also do here, we can add a Fibonacci to this move here, and we can see, well, 61.8 retracement at 460. 456 is likely to be tested. And then finally, Bitcoin, not much to say about that, still in a bullish trend, but if it takes out 112,000, well, then I think we'll see a push higher towards 114, possibly higher. Ethereum still range bound here between 2350 and 2740, and that's the breakout it needs to, that's the range it needs to break out. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and talk to you again tomorrow.